Welcome to the Voncast Show. Today I have co-hosts with me that have been on this show multiple times because I like talking to them and they're great conversators and they know what they're talking about. This episode, it's different. We're talking about like Asian Americans in Hollywood, representation, networking and whatnot. Let's introduce ourselves, starting from far left.
Hi, I'm Karen from Create Her Story Karen.
Okay. Where do you work at?
Where do I work?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm a grant writer at
Oh.
Asian Pacific Community Fund.
Mm-hmm.
Also the scholarship coordinator.
Nice.
What else
Cool.
do you want?
No, that's cool.
That's cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Tiffany Porter. I am the secretary of the Filipino American Chamber of Commerce of Hollywood, and also I am a writer and producer.
And I'm Vaughn, obviously. I make podcasts, memes, and I sometimes hang out at the tattoo shop. And I make music. But, so with the Oscars arriving, you know, like once this is recorded, Oscars will be out relatively soon. You know, we can discuss about the history of Filipino Americans / Asian Americans or Asian Americans in general in Hollywood. We can talk about like the progression of how we've been represented for the past, I don't know, decades or so.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I can get started.
Sure.
Actually, I don't know if you guys know this, but 2019 is the 100th anniversary of Filipino cinema.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so which is really incredible. I did not know this until I got involved with the Chamber of Commerce. And in regards to the representation of Asian Americans on the big screen, I can say that we've definitely come a long way, especially within the past year. Obviously, there's been more call to action, and there's been more movement now, more exposure, and a lot of exciting connections coming together. A common theme I've noticed, and I mentioned this with you from like one of our first interviews, is that there are more podcasters, there are more bloggers, there are more collaborative efforts to unite a lot of Asian American individuals, you know, who ventured off the STEM path.
Right.
And, you know, I credit the STEM careers as well because they are wonderful veterans in their careers. However, now it's an exciting time where I believe we can be inclusive of all kinds of careers that we go with. Whether or not you're creative, whether or not you're an engineer, whether or not you're doing both. And in regards to the representation on screen, I remember, was it in 2013 when the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite came up?
Yeah.
I remember like that made me cringe because I thought, oh boy, we have a long way to go. But you know, as of August 2018, Crazy Rich Asians, of course, broke a lot of barriers by being a proven point that Asian narratives deserve to be in the spotlight. Asian narratives can definitely be box office successes. And I'm actually not too bummed out. I kind of want to jump the gun now and say it, but I'm actually not too bummed out when the Oscar nominations came out a few weeks ago that Crazy Rich Asians was snubbed. I'm not too bummed out about that because I believe that the film sparked the call to action. So now you have a lot of communities like coming together saying, hey, our voices deserve to be heard, we deserve to be seen, now's a good time we can come together. So I'm personally not too bummed out. If anything, I believe that Crazy Rich Asians was that big step, but it's ready to like move the torch to like more stories that deserve to be heard.
Right.
And on the flip side, I'm happy that Bao got to be nominated like in the short films category with Pixar. So
That's awesome. What are your thoughts on these matters, Karen?
Well, I mean, change takes time, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a good stepping stone for sure. And I agree, you know, a lot with what you said, Tiffany. Is just, it's a stepping stone for sure. We've come a long way, but there's still like a lot of work to be done, you know?
Yeah.
It's really just kind of getting out there saying, hey, you know, we've been here actually for a long time, right? Asians have been in the media for a long time, but they've been under, you know, stereotypical type of roles.
Right.
And I've heard a lot of stories where some folks are like older now, but they were like the first generations of you know, Asians in the media, and they purposely didn't want to take roles because they were the stereotypical roles, right? So there just weren't a lot of opportunities at that time, you know, because, you know, Hollywood is so white and they only wanted Asians to play particular roles, you know? Because some folks are like, oh, well, there's jobs out there, you're just not looking, right? And it's just like, okay, well, there's like a more systemic type of, you know, issue there that most folks don't understand and they don't know. So yeah, I think definitely came a long way. I feel I'm not bummed, but I'm not surprised either that they got snubbed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's a good, like I said, stepping stone. And they were like, what did they get? First in like the Critics' Choice Awards. So they won like a lot of other awards, which is amazing. And I don't know if you watched the SAG Awards or like some of those. I saw Sandra Oh's like speech. Oh my God, it was so moving. Yeah. And you know she's right on it. Like she's been in the media, you know, for a long time, and hasn't really gotten the recognition and the praise that she deserves. And I'm just like so happy that like you know they're, you know, people who are actually in the media now, you know, representing, you know, API are actually getting recognized, you know, and getting the appreciation that they've, you know, it's like long time coming,
right?
You know, so.
Yeah, I mean, I can go back to the first time I saw an AAPI, which is Asian American Pacific Islander, on screen. For me, fortunately, it was a positive one. Positive one being Rufio from Hook.
Oh yeah. Rufio,
yeah, Dante.
Rufio.
Dante Bosco. Dante was it president?
Dante Bosco.
Dante Bosco. Yeah. I was 7. I just moved from the Philippines, and I saw him on screen. I'm like, hey, that guy was kind of like me.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that was one of the very few positive ones. Right. Definitely, it shows, you know, Harold and Kumar. They kind of defied the stereotype towards the end, but usually I saw many Asian males just have either like martial arts roles, i.e. Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, which is great, you know, it shows, you know, masculinity of sorts, but they're just stereotyped to those cast types. Yeah, and let's see, I can't really think of too many. It seems like they're most like sidekicks in general, and they have counterparts like that. Owen Wilson and Jackie Chan movie, something Shanghai at Noon.
Right.
I couldn't think of like the very first one. The first thing that popped in my head was Lucy Liu and Ally McBeal, but it was a TV show. But then I started kind of like trying to think of like what was the first thing I saw, but I couldn't remember. And then I just remember like watching some movies like later on in my life where there were Asian characters here and there, and someone had made a comment. They're like, "You get so happy when you see an Asian person like come on," and I'm like, no, I don't. You know, but then later on I was like, of course I would, right? Yeah. Because we don't see like a lot of folks that look like us, like on TV, you know, or in the movies. Right. And it was even just like, it was like those DVDs back in the day. But it's like, you know, DVD movie that we put in from like Netflix when Netflix wasn't streaming. Right. But you would get the DVDs in the mail. Yeah. So we were watching it at home, and then like, you know, I forgot what movie it was, and the Asian person came on, and that person made that comment, and in my head, like at that time, I was like, no, I don't. No, it's just, you know, it's cool to see. But looking back on it now, it's like, of course you would be happy, you know, to see someone that looks like you on the big screen. So.
Yeah, I mean, I really can't think of too many movies where it's like you have an Asian lead that's not. An Asian male that's not in karate or martial arts, that's not, you know, stereotyped as a nerd, and Asian women that are always like hypersexualized. I can't think of too many. I mean, maybe I haven't seen too many movies, but I can't really think of too many in general. I mean, there's a lot, you know, but and it seems like when there's Asian characters, it's always, if there's a majority Asian characters, it's always a foreign movie like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. You know, but now it's changing. There's shows like Kim's Convenience. What else? Fresh Off the Boat.
Yappy.
Yappy. That's a good one. Have you seen that?
Rufio is actually in there. He's the one that opens.
Yeah.
Have you seen what?
Yappy. It's a YouTube short, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
By the Wong Fu Productions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay.
And it's like AAS. Like when I was watching it, I was like, oh my god, this is like AAS. Like more people need to watch this. And then I actually went to a Wong Fu. They're one of their the Yappy event. And I met Wong Fu Phil, who's like the main guy, and I was like, okay, so tell me, who in the cast or like the production is an AAS major? And he was like, you know, nobody. And I was like, why? And he's like, no, you know, it's just like the our own personal experiences, you know. And I was like, oh yeah, so true, because we all experience it,
Yeah.
right? And it's not until like we were in AES when we're like, oh, and like connecting the dots.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny. It's a really good show. You should watch it.
Okay,
Alright.
take it.
Yeah.
I need to watch all those shows.
You do.
And all those movies. You know I'm a trash Asian because I still haven't seen Crazy Rich Asians.
Okay, that's
I mean,
okay.
it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
We're in a world of streaming platforms and services now,
Yeah,
so
I think I saw the bootleg out. I'm gonna watch that.
secrets out.
Oh my goodness.
I don't. Is it out like an actual DVD?
It is.
Do people buy? I don't have DVDs.
Yeah.
Where do you get movies if you don't have DVDs? Like iTunes,
iTunes.
right? Like
I'm
you
sure
can rent them on
there's a streamer.
YouTube.
Yeah.
You can also rent on YouTube or Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Renting. Yeah, I gotta get on that. I'm just. I don't know. I need to watch it. My mom says it's good. Everyone says it's good. I just haven't had the time.
It's okay. Now it's Oscar season. I need to catch up on like all the Oscar noms.
No, right?
And
I
I'm
don't even
stressing.
know. Yeah, I don't even know. Like, I know I've heard the title, but
Black
I'm like,
Panther.
what is that? Well,
I
for
know.
sure, Black Panther got a lot of
That's
nominations.
good.
It's
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
I saw that picture where the CRA cast and the Black Panther cast were hanging out.
Mhm.
That was really cool.
I know.
was cool.
I was like,
That
yay!
was cool.
So earlier we were talking about the Oscars, and you pointed out some politics that you were speaking about earlier. Can you
Okay.
tell us about that?
Okay. This was mind blowing to me. So a few years back, when I was still a working actor in San Diego, I took a workshop with a casting director, and I had no idea until he pointed out to us that every year the Oscars, the award season from like January to March, from Golden Globes to the Oscars, it's very political, and not a lot of the general audience know this. So think of it as when you see all the nominees on the Oscars like nominations list, they are all dealing with the whole award season like a very stressful presidential campaign. So think of like every award ceremony we come across, from the Golden Globes, the SAG Awards, Critics' Choice, whatever. Think of them as like the states. And so all these nominees have to go to every award season to schmooze, to mingle, and to garner awards, like gather attention. And that kind of builds up their not credibility, but it builds up like the hype, and to see like who do you think will actually win the Oscar. It's very fascinating how political this all is. And that's why I personally, another reason I'm not too bummed out that Crazy Rich Asians was snubbed, was because I know there's a lot of inside work going on in the system, but it's definitely a spark to show, okay, well, this bankable box office success is gonna pave the path for more box office successes. And that's why now is a very exciting time, because I know that whatever happens throughout this whole like award season, like which is very political, like anything goes. I remember last year. Do you guys remember the whole Me Too movement, Time's Up like fiasco? There were a lot of, I'm not gonna say their names, but there were a lot of men whose reputations were like brought into the light, and it really affected like their potential wins like later on in the Oscars. And it's crazy how political it is, but I take it with a grain of salt, because I know that yes, I'm in this industry, but I'm not naive about things, but I understand that there's always more to what I can learn. And I take everything with a grain of salt, but most importantly, I also like to have humor with everything like this, because it's a crazy world. The whole thing's crazy, so.
Yeah, and then we can talk about Bao winning short film, or he's not winning, but they're running up for
Yeah, they're nominated.
nominated for
Best
short
short.
film
Mhm.
nominee. That played when Incredibles 2 played, right?
Yeah.
That was a preview. That's a preview for a lot of Pixar movies.
Mm-hmm.
What is Bao exactly, for those who don't know? It's a bun.
So the short, did you see it?
Yeah, I
you saw
did.
You didn't see it?
I saw it, but just for those who haven't seen it.
Oh, bao is like a bread. So in Chinese culture, it's like a sweet bread, like the white sweet bread, steamed, and then inside you have like a filling. So the most common is like char siu bao, which is like the barbecue pork.
Okay.
But then there's a whole bunch of other baos. There's chicken bao, there's like sweet baos, But the short, it's so cute, right? It's just basically like this mother, right? An elderly mother, and then she was like kind of lonely, but she's like a really good cook, right? So she's always making bao for her husband. Her husband's kind of like short and sweet too, eats and then kind of goes on his merry way. And then what was it? She was making bao one day, and the bao came to life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it became basically like a little mini kid,
Mm-hmm.
and she took it everywhere, right? Took it shopping, and then eventually the bao got older, got a girlfriend, became rebellious,
Yeah.
and then
Go ahead, sorry.
the bao moved out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
What I was confused. I mean, I'm like, so was it a dream or was it like an imagination?
I think it was like a representation of her relationship with her son.
Oh.
Because in the end, the son Bao, right, the Bao version of her son became rebellious, moved out, made her sad. You know, she wished that he would listen, right, or like know that like she loved him, but instead he, you know, left.
Right.
And when he wanted to leave, she ended up eating him.
Right.
And then like she was crying, right? She was so sad because she ate her son or whatever. And then while she's laying in bed, it shows the shadow, right, of the Bao head. But then when it shows the son, it's her actual son that came to visit. So I think it was like a manifestation of like her feelings towards maybe what happened between her and her son back in the day.
Yeah.
Maybe that is actually what happened, and then he did move out, right? So she was feeling sad and lonely, making Bao, and the Bao became her son. I don't know.
Thank you for clarifying that. I thought it was left to interpretation, kind of what happened.
No.
But now I see. Thank you.
I mean, that's my interpretation.
No, that
You
sounds
interpret
pretty
it a different
accurate.
way.
That
I
sounds
think
pretty
it's
accurate.
I agree with everything you said. I mean, it's a Pixar short film, and Pixar like does a wonderful job of collaborating like the reality and the fantasy. So I think to tackle like a fascinating yet mostly overlooked concept of an empty nest that Asian Americans can relate to, I think what she was dealing with was a metaphor. The whole Bao concept, it was a metaphor for how she felt, like she grieving from an empty nest.
Right.
And I love the whole process of seeing the Bao grow up, because you see it from her eyes and you're like, oh my god, he's growing up so fast. Now he has a girlfriend.
Right?
Now he has a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And it just makes me
and a
think.
little buzz.
Yeah. And this makes me think like, oh man, like do all parents feel like this? Like Asian parents? It was a fascinating perspective.
I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the end of that, me and my sister were tearing up, and my parents are like, why are you tearing up? And I'm like, we're not tearing up. And I'm like, we've dealt with this already. Why are you sad? I'm like, oh, sorry.
Aw, but see, that kind of shows too that rough exterior, right?
Yeah.
Like they can't be like, this is how I felt when you left or something, you
Yeah.
know? Instead of like, why are you crying, Pop? You did this already. It's just like, oh, okay, you can show me some affection. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell me that's how you felt.
I know.
You know what's interesting? I have a white stepmom, and she's like, oh, I miss you so much. Like, it's so empty out here. And my dad goes, oh, you know, he's like super laid back and cool about it.
Yeah.
She even asked, like, would you ever want to move back? And my dad's just like, oh, cool, you know, like just very nonchalant, like doesn't really show that exterior. But I think that also is what a lot of fathers do, kind of like, you know, have that exterior, like rough exterior, but also moms too, or, you know, guardians too. I definitely get that. I never really noticed, like, we don't really see the perspective of like Asian parents in those situations. I mean,
Yeah.
for us, we live it, you know, like, oh, I can't wait to move out, or I'm moving out. But I always wonder like how they take it. You
Yeah.
know? I mean, they're always whenever we're home, they always treat us out to food, make us a bunch of food, you know, like let us do laundry and all these things. But I wonder like how they feel, you know, when I'm not there. You know, because they always do tend to generally put on a tougher exterior. Like, I'm sure they miss us, but sometimes it's just, you know.
Well, it's funny because my dad, actually, he's like not the stereotypical dad. My dad's like very loving. Like, I remember growing up, whenever we would come home, we'd always run and be like, Daddy's home, give him a hug and a kiss, right? And I think as we got older, we started, like, as teenagers, we're like, oh, that's not cool to, like, you know, hug your dad or, like, kiss your dad, you know? So it got to the point where it's just like, oh, okay, good to see you, right?
Bye. Okay.
But it's like, it's funny because most people are like, oh yeah, you know, Asian dads are always so like, you know, kind of like yours, like you just said, like rough exterior, blah, blah. But my dad's very like, I don't know, it's different with my dad.
I wonder what the dynamics though, because there's always that your mama's boy or daddy's girl. I always feel like, you know, the dad might be more receptive to the daughter, and the mom might be more receptive to the son. I don't know if that's
I thought it was fascinating. I consider myself like a daddy's girl.
Mhm.
Like my dad is my big influence. Like he was the one that introduced me to like filmmaking and like all the movies. And he's very loving as well.
Oh, that's nice.
He's such a troll.
Oh, really?
He's a big troll. Can I tell you guys about a quick
Sure,
break
of
he did one
course,
time?
yeah.
Sorry, Dad. I'm gonna like leak out your secret right now. It's too good.
Yes.
So you know how? Okay, first off, you know how Asians love sales, right? We love discounts. We love sales.
Mhm. My favorite word.
Yes. One time, yeah. And then like one time you walk into a store, and you know how like sometimes like there are books that are blocked into letters.
Mm-hmm.
So we were walking around this really nice store that I like, and we're just like walking around, and then I noticed like all these like block book letters like in the corner, and I'm like looking at some dresses, and then my dad walks up to me and goes, "Hey, do you see my handiwork?" I'm like, "Where?" And he goes, "Look at that." I'm like, "Oh, that's a nice sale." No, I spelled the letter spelled sale. We should get going now. I'm like, "Why? Everyone's flocking to the sale. Let's go. I don't want to be caught." And I'm like, "Oh my god."
That's funny.
That's so funny.
That's cool.
Oh, they're like, who made this display?
I know.
Yeah. So
Cute.
cool. Nice. Definitely, sales are a big, and it's interesting. Like later on in life, you get to value that kind of knowledge they give you. Look for what's on sale, even though it's so ingrained in our, it's so ingrained in like our mind that I just automatically worship sale.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, why pay more when you can pay less? I mean, that's my thing.
Exactly. No, I get you.
Oh, it's so funny. Actually, like a few days ago, I went to the grocery store with one of my other best friends, and we were buying ginger ale because I was out. And we're at Albertsons, and they're having that like 5, where you have to buy 5 to get the sale thing, which is fine because I will drink ginger ale anyway. And it was so cute because there was like these 2 elderly API women. One of them was standing there with a cart, had like 5 cases of Coke in her thing, and my best friend's like, "Oh yeah, here's the ginger ale, but you have to buy 5." And I'm like, "That's fine." She's like, "You're gonna get 5 cases of ginger ale." I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna drink it. It's in a can. It'll be fine." And then she's like, 5 cases? Really? Really, Karen? And then I was like, and then the lady looked over, she was just like, "Why not? It's on sale." I was like, exactly.
Yeah.
She's like,
For the
"We did
sale."
the same thing. Yeah. And I was like, "You're gonna drink it, right?" She's like, "Yes." And she starts talking about Coke and her family and how her and her sister split, and her sister was like further down, right? And I was like, "See?" And I looked at my best friend and I said, "See?" She's like, "That's gonna be you." And like the air is like, "It is me now. It's
Yeah.
fine."
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it the best movie by chance? No.
No.
So, moving on, we were talking about, you brainstormed some cool ideas about kind of building credibility and networking and in this industry, specifically like, API, because it's like a very brand new kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice on like building credibility, because you kind of dipped your toes in this industry?
I know that especially if you're a young Asian creative, the biggest struggle is, what if you don't have enough money to get whatever equipment you need, or what if you don't have money to go to like this or that? I believe that there's always going to be resources as long as you create your own opportunity. You can definitely start with whatever you have. Like you don't need to have the most expensive like video equipment to like have great films or like stuff, right?
Yeah.
And like or to be a great podcast host, like you don't need like a full studio in your own. Like you're able to gather resources.
Yeah.
I think the key is to develop like your vision, but practice your craft, and the money will eventually come. I don't think that you need to have like the most money in the world to start off. You just gotta develop your credibility by practicing your craft, but also not to hesitate reaching out to a friend or two.
Mm-hmm.
If you possibly feel like you are deprived of a community in your area, maybe you can start a community as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the common thing I've been learning like lately is that there are so many phenomenal Asians like in different cities, like in different areas that want to be a creative as well, like want to create their own path, whether it be a graphic designer or an editor or like a podcast host or a blogger. But we're all still disconnected. And I know that 2019 is going to be a big year that everyone will be able to come together. And in terms of like building credibility and like networking, I'm gonna give a little secret. I don't carry business cards. I don't, because I'm the kind of person, I've been taught to build relationships. I love having one-on-one relationships with people. I check in with them, like in the holidays. I reach out to them, say, hey, let's grab lunch. And if I'm in a networking mixer, and most times I'm either like the only Asian or I'm the youngest, and then people see me and they say, oh, you have a business card. I say, I don't have a business card, but what I can do is I'm gonna give you my number and we're gonna grab lunch next week, So that's what I like to do.
Cool, yeah, that's great. I think
like to do
that's
that.
definitely a great way, because most folks like who don't network or like are afraid to talk to people, they don't understand. Like, I have that same issue where folks are like, oh, well, like, what do you do though? Like, how do you build relationships? Like, I'm like, you just talk to people.
Exactly.
Like, it's just talk to people. Like, it's okay, Like, I know we were taught not to talk to strangers when we were growing up. I get it. But we're all people. Like, like the simple, like, smile or like a hi or like a greeting to someone, like, goes so far. And I find it, like, to me, I still find it so surprising. Like, I will just smile at a stranger, and sometimes they're kind of like,
I get that.
smiling at me, And I'm like, oh my God, it's so uncommon now where people find it strange.
That's sad.
It is. And I'm just like, wow, what kind of world are we living in, But it's like, that's what it is. Like, just talk to people. It's not that difficult,
Yeah.
And like you said, keep in touch with your friends, right? Like, the funny thing is that people have a network, but they don't realize that they have a network.
Yeah.
Until
That's
you
a
start
good way
saying
to
like,
put it.
okay, well, who do you talk to? Like, where do you go to eat? Where do you get your hair done? Like, do you get your hair cut? Like, you have a network, but you just don't know how to utilize the network that you have, right? And like, keep in touch, don't be that like flake kind of friend that only calls when you need something, like that sucks.
Yeah.
Like, we all have friends like that, fine, we're cool, but like, don't be that friend.
I like what you said about you have a network, but not a lot of people know that they have a network. The key to like having successful professional like relationship is understanding how you are of value to that person and vice versa. So as you build your relationship, you build that network, and you realize over time, like, okay, this person is not just gonna hit me up if they need something like tomorrow, And like, I really appreciate whenever people build relationships as well, and like, it's a two-way street.
Yes.
So you build that, and of course, honestly, like in whatever field you are, you need people around you to make it happen. Like, I think that's the important thing about networking, just building relationships and like, being genuine. Like, nobody likes a jerk. And so, like, life is too short to be a jerk. That's what I think.
People get offended too, because sometimes I'm like, well, it has to be beneficial, right? And some people think like, oh, well, that's a bad word. You're taking advantage of like people that And it's like, no, you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. It has to be mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
That's how relationships work. Even if it were a romantic relationship, familial relationship, right? Or just friends, it's like, it has to be mutually beneficial, where both people in the party, obviously are, benefiting in some way with the good relationship that you have, right? If you have a good relationship with your parents, you both flourish, the family flourishes, right? If you have a good relationship with your friends, you utilize each other for whatever skills or talents that person has, you both, benefit, from that relationship, right? It has to be mutually beneficial. And like, some people are in toxic relationships, right? And that's not good, So to recognize the type of relationships that you have, the circle that you keep, right? You have your close inner circles, and then it kind of just goes out from there, right? So like, to just be aware of like the people that you talk to, because your mind soaks up whatever people say too. And like, the more people you hang around with, like those types of people, you rub off on them, they rub off on you, right? So you always have to like kind of be mindful too. But your network is really powerful, and having a supportive circle too.
One guest said, if you lie with dogs, you'll get fleas. All those like, those phrases, birds flock at the same feather, whatever. Pretty much, I agree that, the company you keep kind of says a lot about you.
It does.
I remember it really does. And at first, when my dad told me this a while back, and, I wasn't hanging out with like the best crowd. I wasn't that good myself. But he goes, you can tell a lot about who you hang out with. And at first I don't want to believe it, you know, like, no, like, we all do this stuff, but...
My friends are cool.
Friends are
my
cool,
friends.
But really it's...
They're my friends.
Yeah.
Don't judge my friends.
Yeah.
You don't know what I'm going through.
I know, right?
Exactly.
You don't know what they're going through.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You don't understand.
You don't understand. You're old. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it's true. It took me a while to realize, you know, you hang out with certain people. I mean, you can still be friends with them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not interact with them so much, but it's so true. Like, if you hang out with these people, you subconsciously soak up their mannerisms, how they talk, their views. You know, it's really interesting. And that, and also too, what helps me is I don't have much expectations. Not saying that like, oh, you know, it's gonna be crappy, because I don't have any. You know, I don't expect to have like a bunch of views or this and that. I don't expect people to do stuff in return from me, because I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, while it's good to have mutual friendships and, you know, do this and that, but beyond that, I don't expect much, and I think it's what's kind of helping me.
Mm-hmm. You just do you.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. And also too, yeah, being honest, being genuine, you know, building with people you want to build with. Don't be facetious. I know it's easy to, like, you know, oh, I want to work with you, but you don't mean it. You know, don't say that stuff. But I just think really, like, I think of networking, genuine networking, is like being a good human being.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Making
Yeah.
connections.
Yeah,
Yeah.
genuine connections, being respectful, courteous, sending professional emails, DMs. Those go a long way. And being
Yeah.
nice, thank you for your time, I appreciate it. These are things you add in emails, or, you know, oh, hope all is well kind of thing, but they really mean a lot. It's like, hey, what's up? Like, let's do this and that. Okay, bye. You know, emoji like lit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I was in a workshop, a work workshop last week, and one of the questions, it was on fundraising and event planning. One of the questions from one of the new orgs was like, well, how do we go about, like, it was talking about media, how do we even get media, right, to come to like our events or whatever? And, you know, it was basically build a relationship with the media. You know, they're like, well, we call and they don't want to come, and, like, you know, stuff like that. And it's just like, well, it's just reminded me of the same thing, right? You call your friends, they don't want to come. They're like, dude, you only hit me up when you want blah, 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 you know? And it's like, you have to, like, be genuine about it, right? Be like, hey, you know, we want to invite you to this event that's going on. You know, maybe the first couple times they're not going to come, which is fine, you know, but most people are like, I don't know, people don't take rejection well, right?
Yeah.
Most people are like, oh, they didn't come, forget it. You know, it's just like, dude, keep inviting, that's fine, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, what is it when I was in network marketing, the power of numbers kind of a thing? Like, so many people are going to say no, and eventually you'll have a person that says yes. I mean, it's sales and marketing too, but it's like, these are kind of like life concepts that you can implement into, you know, your life, right? And the relationships that you have also. And yeah, just be genuine too. And it's like, some people just don't think like to just go out and be like, hey, randomly at some random event and there's media there, make friends with the media. Just be like, hey, what are you doing here, blah, blah. And I think I mentioned it to that person. They're like, but it's always just the camera guy. It's like, you know, we need to get the other. And I was like, maybe you want to, you know, put more value behind the person behind the camera, because, hey, they're the ones with the camera, right?
Every person has value.
Yeah.
Like, if you are in an event, like, say, networking mixer, like, say that, I don't know, say if you're a writer, and you can't walk into an event thinking, I'm only going to talk to the writers.
You can't. That's arrogant, too.
I know. There's value in every person you meet. It's a matter of how are you going to value, like, their how are you going to value their presence, like, over time, and vice versa.
I think just in general, right? Because, like, when I talk to people, I don't know who they are. I don't know what their title is. I don't know what they do, right? I'm just kind of like, oh my God, you look so cute. I like your outfit. Or, like, you know, whatever strikes me, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just see someone and I feel like I want to comment, you know, on either how they look or their approach, or, like, how they just mannerisms. And I'm like, I really like your energy.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm feeling that person, I want to tell them, hey, like, I'm feeling that energy. I like it. And then, you know, who knows where that relationship is going to end, right? Because you don't know where that person's going to lead you to, who they're going to connect you with, where they're going to invite you, right? It's just, you leave it up to the universe to take you to where you need to go, you know? So I approach it as like, not like, you know, oh, I'm going to this and I only want to talk to blah, 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 you know? It's just like, that's not, you go in with like, okay, let's see what's, you know, with an open mind, right?
Make the most of it.
Yeah, make the most of it, you know, make some connections. If you find someone that you really connect with, great. You know, if not, it's cool. go to the next event or the next thing or whatever the case may be, but that's how, like, I don't know, like, some folks just don't know how to, like, get started, right?
I know.
And it's just like, just get out there, have an open mind, right? Just do your thing.
Facebook groups and,
Talk
stuff
to
on
people.
campus.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up because we do have a time constraint. So pretty much that was our podcast. Thank you both for being here.
Oh, can we talk about AAS real quick?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Since we are in,
Yeah.
where are we?
Yeah.
CSUN, right?
Yeah.
And we're all AAS
So
alums.
go for it.
Me? Oh, okay. Well, well, I don't know if y'all are aware, but ethnic studies is always under attack, right? And more so now, a lot of classes are getting cut, and a lot of professors are, in danger of losing their courses, which also negatively affects them and their salaries and their jobs. And one person that I want to highlight is Professor Uba, who we all took, right?
Yes.
We were all in her 210 class.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it's like Vaughn was actually bringing that up to me, where some folks, it's like you're kind of quiet, right? We don't really talk when we're in class, but I think because we're all kind of intimidated.
We were
Fear.
stressed and just like,
Fearing
we
for all
gotta
minds is
remember
better.
everything.
Yeah.
I don't know about y'all, I wasn't stressed. Like,
No,
I love Uba. She was
Well,
cool.
she loved you.
I know.
She wrote your family a letter. I ain't getting nothing.
But it's like, I don't know.
Tough love.
Yeah. I mean, I love the class. It was a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
But I think some folks do find Uba challenging, but a lot of things that are worth it in life are challenging,
And
right?
they're rewarding.
And they're rewarding for sure. Like, how did you feel about Uba's class?
Funny enough, I mentioned this to him when we had our first podcast interview. I wasn't an AAS major.
Mhm.
I took that class because I was a screenwriting major, and I had this like long-term film feature project I've been working on for years, and I only took that class because I needed historical research.
Oh.
So like everything
That's a
I
great
did,
class,
yeah, I took it, and there was be so many times in the semester I'd be calling my parents like, I'm so stressed. Oh my god, this class. Why are you taking it? It's not even your major. I'm like, but I need it for my screenplay, mom. I'm gonna make it this movie. Like it's gonna happen. I need to research it.
Mhm.
It was rewarding. I thought it was really worth it.
Yeah, and Uba has like this wealth of information,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And like history, it's like, whoa, Asian American history at that, right?
Mhm.
And that's kind of the class where I really started to make more of the connections, right? And how like we all intersect, and then like more of the generational,
Yeah.
thing where I'm just kind of like, oh, it makes more sense for the older like, Korean Americans or like the older Chinese Americans. And I'm just like, oh, so true.
Yeah.
Like so many aha moments in that
Yeah.
class.
Everything stuck with me to the point where I pretty much know like first wave, second wave,
Yeah.
third wave,
Yeah.
the dates.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
And I think I like the way that she guides the class,
Yeah.
right? Because there aren't a lot of professors that do that, right? Make us sit in a circle, right? We're communicating with each other.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. And I think because she's very stern, right? But I think that's great. She's assertive, she's stern, and she sets the tone. But I think she sets a tone for like learning. And what most folks don't really fully understand is that Uba really cares.
Yeah.
Like she really cares, and like she loves what she does, and like she's very passionate about it. And she basically just wants like her students to understand like this stuff is important, right? And it's like I think she's like the best person to kind of teach that material because she's so passionate about what she does,
Yeah.
right? And I think sometimes she might get frustrated because like some folks don't understand how it's kind of like when we were talking about your parents, right? They're like, I love you so freaking much, you don't understand why I'm being mean to you because you're not listening.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's that kind of love where it's like wholeheartedly, so I think folks really need to take Uba. I don't know. I think she's retiring soon.
Yeah.
And it's just she's a living legend. She's one of the first. She's one of the professors that helped establish AAS at CSUN. So she's literally a living legend, and to be taught by her was
Yes.
like absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Look it up.
Look it
Look it
up.
up. Okay. All right.
Sorry.
So, no,
Okay,
no.
no,
Thank
thanks
you.
for sharing that.
And the pathways for sure.
Pathways. Shouts out Pathways.
Yeah. The interns always there to help.
Yeah. Amatu House is open Monday through Friday. They have the certain times. I'll link the.
Yeah. Follow them on
Yeah.
IG at AAS Pathways.
All right. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for being here. The weather is very it's raining a lot,
I know.
so I appreciate y'all being here, taking your time out of your day, busy days, driving, walking in the rain for this. So thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having us, Bob.
Pleasure.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay.